Hello, it's me, Option D, and you are watching the very first video on this channel. For this video, I decided to do something I haven't seen before. I found a hole in the YouTube market that needs filling. I'm very good at filling holes, so we're going to be doing a frog tier list today, a very political topic for my first video, and I'm aware that I'll probably get numerous hate comments from people who have very different opinions and frogs than me, but I'm here to tell you, don't worry, my opinion is objective truth. You don't have to worry about making your own, so don't even bother. Just listen to what I say, and what I say is fact. Thank you. I have a couple things to say before we start the tier list. First off, I will be including a few toads in this list, which I know is very controversial, and I'm definitely going to get backlash for that. But I assure you that toads are actually pretty closely related to frogs, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm never wrong. I think they are frogs, just wartier. Secondly, I have nothing else to say. Let's get into it. So first on our tier list, we have Pac-Man frogs. Now, these are lovely plump little fellers from South America who are ambush predators. They sit in a dirt hole their whole lives. Pretty awesome, but as we will see later on, they are not the best at this strategy. There are better frogs at doing just this. So we're going to put them in a solid A tier. And next we have tomato frogs. These bodacious boys come from Madagascar. Got some pretty sweet coloration and live in dirt holes like Pac-Man frogs, pretty similar, but everything in Madagascar is cooler, so top of A tier for these. And rain frogs, a chubby trio so far. The rain frog, this is a black rain frog. There's also desert rain frogs. You may have seen a very popular video of a desert rain frog before. This is a black rain frog, but this will encompass all rain frogs. So like these frogs are pretty neat. Like their defense mechanism is their best part because they puff up like a blowfish. They become a balloon made of frog, one could say. So I think that is pretty baller. I'm gonna have to put that in S tier. It can only get worse. Next we have flying frogs. All right, this might sound amazing at first, but they actually glide. They don't fly. And they do it to escape predators rather than because it's sick as fuck. So I'm gonna have to put them in B for being just too gimmicky. Next we have the White's tree frog, or dumpy tree frog, native to Australia, and they're probably the plumpest tree frog possible, any plumper, and I don't know how they'd stay in a tree. They would need huge biceps or something like that, and a frog with biceps is a disturbing thought. So let's skip over that and just put them in A tier for being a very solid tree frog. And then we have the green tree frog. Okay, green tree frogs, let's be real, they're just the default frog skin. They're just the default skin for frogs, right? Like, they're cool, I guess, when they get the job done, but they're nothing special, so I'm just gonna have to put them in B. Now we have cane toads. Alright, so cane toads, these are bad motherfuckers. Also known as marine toads, native to South and Central America. And they are pretty much pieces of shit, right? Because here's the thing, they are invasive in like places like Australia and Florida, and the reason they're an issue is because when predators of those areas eat them, they die from the toxins in their skin. So that is pretty fucking metal, but not exactly good for the environment. So cane toads are gonna go in D. Next we have the dart frogs, and there's a lot of species, but I'm going to clump them all together just for this list. Often known as poison dart frogs due to their toxins in their skin in the wild. That can be pretty devastating. They come in a lot of beautiful colors, so for that reason I'm going to put them in A tier. Wood frogs. Wood frogs have one cool feature, and that's that when they hibernate for the winter up in Canada and in the United States, some places I think, they freeze. So they become mostly ice. Most of the water in their bodies freezes. which is pretty cool, but overall they're just a brown frog. Like that's pretty much, like, their freezing thing's the only thing better, so I'm gonna put them in B tier. And then we have the red-eyed tree frog. Alright, probably the most recognizable frog species is the red-eyed tree frog. Like if you Google the word frog, one of these guys is probably gonna be the first picture, so I don't see anywhere else they can go besides S tier. Like, they're just too recognizable, too legendary, you know? African dwarf frogs. Alright, these guys are entertaining to watch if you've ever had one as a pet. They're usually sold for very cheap prices in pet stores, and you have even seen them in toy stores, which is pretty fucked if you ask me. But overall, they are entertaining, but also fully aquatic, which gets rid of 50% of a frog's possible area it can chill in out of all the species, right? But I'm gonna have to put these guys in B tier because they're just kind of, no, they're a B tier frog. I don't know what more I can say. Then we have the Canadian toad. All right, so these are the second and possibly final toad on this list. Canadian toads, well, they're just like American toads that you're probably familiar with, except more polite and better at hiding their racism. So they're going to be an A tier for me. Leopard frogs, these guys are all right. They're similar to wood frogs in behavior and habitat, but they don't freeze. So, I mean, they're going to go low B tier. Glass frogs. Alright, glass frogs are cool because you can see through their skin and see all their insides. Just kidding, that's disgusting and gross. Nobody wants to see that, and it is very rude to expose yourself to people without consent, so they're gonna go in C tier. Wolverine frogs. Now, these guys are metal as fuck. They're like the heavy metal frog, objectively, and they get their name from their ability to break their toes and fingers and push bones through their skin to act as claws. They also have fur on their sides. I don't know what more I have to say to justify putting these guys in S tier. Like, they'll probably hunt me down if I don't, right? Shovel-headed frogs. These guys look pretty cool. They have big old noses, but if you've ever read Pinocchio, I'm gonna use that story right now as evidence that these frogs are fucking liars. They lie all the time, evident by their long-ass noses, so they're gonna go in C for lying. Kermit the Frog, S tier. If you argue with that, then seek professional help immediately. And Crazy Frog, D tier. I'd put him, like, lower if I could. He's honestly worse than the marine toad. Like, he's a thing of nightmares. I wish it never existed. Fire-bellied toads. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I'm never wrong. So these guys are actually a species of frog, not toad, which is interesting, but they're still called that. So incorrect naming, I'm gonna have to dock like half a point for that. They do have pretty neat patterns on their belly, so I'm gonna put them top B. Peepa Peepa frogs are hideously beautiful. They look like a dead leaf, and they act like a dead leaf. And overall, they do a pretty good job at what they do. They also have this weird vibe that makes me feel like they have ancient eldritch knowledge that they refuse to share with me. And all that combined, they're gonna go in S tier. Alright, next we have Vietnamese mossy frogs. Now, mossy frogs are just frogs that are so lazy that they sat still in one spot and moss grew over them. Don't fact check that, remember this list is objective truth. That being said though, I do fuck with their drip, so they're gonna get an A tier from me. Alright, next we have the purple frog, native to India. And the first time I saw this frog, I thought that is a really weird looking mole. But it is not a mole, it is a frog. And it is purple, very uncreative name, but it is very interesting and unique. Unfortunately endangered, but still going in A tier. Alright, now we have the giant African bullfrog, or the pixie frog, which is an ironic nickname for it because it is not exactly the most graceful frog. Just don't let this image I have here fool you. But they are the best at what they do though. I know we talked earlier about the Pac-Man frog digging a dirt hole and sitting there its whole life. Well, these guys do it better, and you know how I can tell? It's because they do the exact same thing, a very, very similar lifestyle, but they get twice as fat doing it, so clearly they are more effective, and that is why they're going in S tier. Anyways, that concludes my frog tier list. Tell me what you thought in the comments below, how you agree, how you're wrong. And yeah, subscribe if you feel like it, like if you feel like it, dislike if you disagree with my opinions on frogs. That's all. Thanks.